Hey guys, welcome back to the DeeTimeLove show, and today we have a Q&A, questions and answers, and there's one question that did stand out in my emails. I want to apologize to everybody that feels that I haven't been getting back to them. I don't know how many times I'm going to apologize, but I do work full time, and I'll get back to doing the questions and answers that I feel that I can deal with as I've got these watches in my collection. But today I want to basically discuss the Seiko Sports SNZH57 model. There is a K1 model. I've got the J model. I went with the J model because I just wanted to have the Japanese model. I don't know if that's just a little bit of snobbery coming out of me, but I just thought I'll keep the Japanese model, as I was giving away the K1 models of this watch. But a common question is the Seiko Sports watch an alternative to the Seiko SKX? Now, the model that I have, my Seiko SKX 007 K1 model, and that is not the Japanese made model. This is the one I believe that is made in Malaysia. Okay, now first of all, differences: the Japanese model have a slightly higher premium. Is it better in any way? I really couldn't tell the difference. I think maybe the Japanese model has maybe a slightly higher quality control being made in Japan, so I guess it will be flawless in compared to the other one, but I might be wrong. And having a look at both of these models, first of all, you have to say the Seiko Sports aesthetically gives the Seiko SKX 007 a run for its money. But for me, if you look deeper, if you look just past the looks, knowing the history and background of the Seiko SKX, it is an icon. It is recognizable amongst watch enthusiasts around the world. When they see a Seiko SKX, they know what it is. The crown at 4 o'clock, that classic design case, just everything about it. The 200 meters water resistance, ICO certified, so it's a genuine diver. The Seiko Sports, on the other hand, is a pretender in my eyes. It's a pretender in the fact that it looks like a much more expensive timepiece. It is inspired more by the Blancpain 50 Phantoms in terms of its design with the indices. But look at those gold indices. Look at that bezel. It looks like a ceramic bezel, doesn't it? And compared to the Seiko SKX, in my opinion, the Seiko Sports looks like a more expensive timepiece if you look at it. You know, without really going into the details and spec, it looks like a more expensive timepiece. Look at that bezel, look at the indices, look at the Seiko 5 applied logo there. I like that. It's got the date function. But one thing that you do observe when you look at the dial is the 23 jewel movement automatic, and it has only a 100 meters water resistance. So it's got half the water resistance of a Seiko SKX, and this is the biggest difference. The Seiko SKX is a professional dive watch. It's a professional tool watch, and the Seiko Sports is a general watch, you know, for everyday wear. 100 meters means it's more than enough for you to go swimming and anything like that, but it's not a professional dive watch. So you could say this is just an everyday general watch, an all-round watch. That is what the Seiko 5 represents. So I still feel, guys, if you are on a lookout for a genuine dive watch and you are a diver, there's only one option for you, is the Seiko SKX. Is there any differences in the movements? Look, guys, none of these watches are manual wind or hacking. The only difference is that I believe the Seiko SKX has a 21 jewel movement, and the new Seiko Sports range has a 23 jewel movement. Now, in terms of power reserve, you know, I've had mixed, you know, things with the Seiko SKX. Sometimes it can run for 40 hours plus, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. Maybe I haven't been wearing it enough. But they all, as soon as you touch them, you give it the little Seiko shuffle, it gets that basic, you know, that engine, you know, running, that mechanical engine running, you know. It's 23 joules, the Seiko 5 Sports. Maybe the second hand is slightly smoother. I don't know. Let's just check it out. Bear with me. Let's have a look if there is a comparison here. Let's get this bad boy running. Very hard to tell, guys, to be honest with you, if there is a difference. I'd have to monitor that and get back to you guys another time. And, you know, Seiko 5, but look, don't get me wrong, the Seiko 5 Sports comes in slightly cheaper premium than the Seiko SKX if you get the K version. But if you get the Japanese made version of the Seiko 5 Sports, there is a slight premium, just like the Seiko SKX 007J models as well, the Japanese models. You will pay an extra anything from £30 to £60 premium on top of the normal retail price, just to give you guys heads up on that. But they come in at a similar price range, but the Seiko 5 Sports is slightly cheaper than the Seiko SKX, but this particular model comes in at a slightly higher price. I've seen all roughly the same, with all honesty. The biggest difference is on the Seiko 5 Sports, you do get a clear case back to see that movement. It's not a pretty movement, but for someone getting into mechanical watches for the first time, can inspire you to see your little mechanical engine beating its heart away, giving the pleasure of that sweeping hand, that automatic movement. Very cool indeed. And as you have a look at the Seiko SKX, you get that famous design, the Karagawa wave, which is featured throughout on many of their watches. And I have to say, it is a very, very cool watch. The Seiko SKX, for me, doesn't get as much wrist time as it previously did, mainly because I have a lot more premium watches in my collection, and it is an everyday beater. I am wearing my Omega Seamaster Electric Blue automatic chronometer, 300 meters. I absolutely love this watch. But anyway, let's take this off my wrist and take a closer look at the Seiko 5 Sports. Now, let's get the Seiko 5 Sport on the wrist. Let's just zoom in there. Let's get that into focus. And pleasantly surprised, both watches are 42 millimeters in terms of diameter. Both have got a 22 millimeter strap. The bracelet on this is pretty good. And I would say one thing, guys. If you're not a diver, I do think you've got to consider the Seiko 5 Sports as an alternative. If you're not going to go diving, or you're not even going to swim with it, I think the Seiko 5 Sports is an option for you, with all honesty. Unless you want to go with the iconic design that everybody has, Seiko 5 Sports are probably getting as popular. But I think at some point they're going to have to stop the production of the Seiko SKX, and I think there's always been rumours over the years, and I believe them as well, production was going to stop. And I can think when they do stop, the prices will go up, not dramatically because there's so many of them around, but I'm sure they'll be going up to around about £250, even for the K models, and even the Japanese models will probably go for £290, I would have thought. But you never know. You know, it's very hard to predict the market. I just can't see it going on forever, the Seiko SKX, especially with their focus now on the Seiko Samurai models. Now, this is the Seiko Samurai Blue Lagoon. You either love it or hate it. I absolutely love it, to be fair, because I think as soon as you see this, you know it is a Seiko Samurai. You cannot mistake it for any other watch. It has its own thing going for it. And for me, when you've got something classic and you've got a brand like Seiko producing it, potentially it will become an iconic timepiece. But one thing I do like about the Seiko 5 Sports is the bezel. And I think at this price range, you'll be very hard to find a watch with a better sounding quality bezel than you get with the Seiko 5 Sports. Very, very cool indeed. I absolutely love it. It's for the price, I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting the bezel to be pretty poor, but it was just as good or even slightly better than the Seiko. Well, it feels better when you rotate it on the Seiko 5 Sports and the SKX slightly. However, just get that into focus for you. However, the Seiko SKX has no play at all in the bezel, and I noticed on this one, I don't know if it's just this model, it basically is very easily moved. It's slightly got a teeny little bit of play, you know, I have to say, but you know, it's nothing bad about it. It actually feels better. Slightly easier to grip as well than the SKX, I have to say. So my answer to you is the Seiko 5 Sports a real alternative? The answer to that is yes. I believe it is an alternative. However, if you are on the market and you want a real dive watch, the Seiko SKX is still king until they stop production and they come up with an alternative or a new model at this price range. I don't think there's anything else like it. You know, for this price range, it's 200 meters water resistance, ISO certified. It's a genuine diver. The loom on this is unbelievable. It's much better than the Seiko 5 Sports. So my answer to you is a bit of a politician's answer. If you want a real dive watch, go for the Seiko SKX. If you're not fussed about that and you don't care about the history and background, go for the Seiko 5 Sports. Is a good watch. You will not be disappointed. It looks far more expensive than what it is, and the quality is good. At that price range, you're not going to get much better in terms of this mechanical timepiece. I tell you what, for the price range, it's an absolute first for beginners. And if you're someone who hasn't got the major budget that you need to buy a watch and you're not fed by the silver spoon, this is a great way to get into watches. I look at that. Look at that domed crystal there. Hardex crystal, just like the Seiko SKX. They're very similar, guys, in the fact that, you know, what they have on offer here in terms of movement. The only thing is, it's not a ceramic bezel. There is an insert Hardex crystal covering the actual bezel. So it's going to get marked and so on. However, you know, it's not going to fade out, I would have thought, because it is protecting that gold PVD coating. But I have to say, in gold, this black and gold dial version does look very good indeed, and I'm very impressed with it. Anyway, guys, I hope that answered your question and answer on this new Seiko 5 Sports. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.